Hi, welcome back to another live edition of Civic Affairs from the studios of ONNtv. I'm Andy Martens, and my co-host,
Alex Parr.
You know it, Alex?
Doing great, but the only question I have now is how do we top the Steve Butland tribute episode?
Well, listen, I've got a lady that's going to be pretty close.
Ooh, that's right. We have Sarah McCleary in studio today.
Dynamic young lady that's the future leadership in our community. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. I wanted to give you a chance to clarify your comments right up the top that you made at the time you filed as counselor, because it created some buzz, negative buzz, and you're a very talented lady and know politics very well, so I wanted you to clarify that.
Absolutely. Happy to do it. So I'm really very sorry that the article that came out about my press release and my candidacy didn't really convey my message all that well, I think. Right. So really, I would never say that a group does not deserve to have a voice, whether it's based on their age or their gender or their race. That's completely everything I'm opposed to. I'm really just saying that right now, council is made up primarily of, the 50-plus age group. They're the baby boomers, but that's not entirely what the Sioux is made up of.
Right.
The Sioux is made up of young people and baby boomers and everything in between, right? So council really needs to be made up of that diverse group as well. They're the people making decisions for people of the Sioux. They're supposed to represent the people of the Sioux. So they should be representative of the population. We need to have more, women and men equally. We need to have younger people mixed with the older generations. And really, what also I think was kind of misunderstood too, I would never say that, baby boomers didn't struggle when they were coming up. They absolutely faced struggles. But the struggles they faced are different than what younger people are facing today. The struggles that I'm facing in terms of, job hunting and getting a house for, the first time and everything, those struggles are different than the struggles that baby boomers face. The world is a different place, and that's all there is to it. It's a fact of life. So not having lived the same experiences, I think expecting baby boomers to be able to make all of the decisions for the younger generations is just impractical. They haven't lived the same experiences, so we need to have the people who have lived those experiences helping to make the decisions.
I see what you're saying. Things have changed between the baby boomers and the millennials.
Basically, millennials has kind of a bad rap. People don't like to think about, millennials being involved in anything. They think that, everybody, I'm kind of right on the edge of being a millennial, so I'm hesitant to use the term, but absolutely, things have changed 100%.
And what do you think diversifying council will actually see change then? Is it the new thought process of people that have struggled in those different ways that will really kind of expand the knowledge throughout?
I think it's that, for sure. People who have gone through the struggles, they know what would help other people to overcome those struggles, so they can help try to implement those things that would help. But then it's also just that younger people have a different way of thinking about things versus older people, same as women have a different way of thinking than men. Certain cultures have a different way of thinking. It's everybody has a different way of thinking, every generation.
People are just that different.
Exactly. So they'll bring new ideas to the table. Like just this weekend, actually, I was writing a story for the paper about the Norgoma and all of the changes that they've been making this summer. And the manager told me, we brought on a new, younger board of directors to bring us some fresh new ideas. Why do you think he's doing that? Because younger people can bring different ideas, a different approach. And it's the same thing that I'm proposing for council, that we need to have some older people, yes, I'm not saying kick them all off. And then we need to have some younger people to bring in those different ideas and more diverse viewpoints.
And speaking of how you do write, you are known as a writer here in the Sioux. So do you think you can bring your communication skills that you've learned through writing and through your different people experiences and help the communication at council?
Absolutely. I think a big part of a council being successful is communicating with the people of the Sioux. So I think the last little while they've been doing a much better job of this. There's been a lot more, information sessions and, hey, give us your input. You can go online, social media. I think that's awesome that they've been doing that. But I also think a huge part of council and communication is accepting and responding to communication from the residents that you're representing, right? So even if you don't have an answer for somebody, if you're a council member, you respond to that email, you respond to that phone call, and you say, you know what, I don't have an answer right now, but I'll get one for you. And also, one thing that I'm going to make sure that everybody knows they can expect from me is that I'm going to be seeking out that input personally. I'm not just going to wait for city staff to collect the information and then present it to me in a report. Yes, I'm going to be door knocking during the campaign, but I also have every intention of continuing door knocking throughout my term on council. Obviously not every night like I would do during the campaign, but here and there, absolutely go knock on a street of doors one night when I have some time and, hey, what are you seeing in the Soo? What would you like to see me doing differently? It's that actively seeking out the input that I think is really important.
Absolutely. Now, Sarah, we're going to pick your brain a little bit more after a quick break. So stay with us. You stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, we're glad you came back to a live edition of Civic Affairs. Andy Martens with Alex Parr. We're live from the Superior Media Studios, and we're chatting with Sarah McCleary, who, as a pundit, and I've been following the scene of the municipal politics, she is a contender. People say, well, the newcomers can't win. Well, you watch this lady during the next few months, you'll see. Sarah, what would the key message that you're going to bring to the door in Ward 4 be in the next couple of months?
I think what people will hear me really saying, I definitely have some ideas that I'm bringing to council. For example, I really want to try to get a youth center set up in town. I really, want to focus on getting new jobs here. But I think my primary message is going to be that I'm going to be listening to them. I'm going to be a true representative of my constituents. So I'm going to be knocking on doors, and I'm not going to be saying, hey, this is what I want to do. It's, hey, what do you want me to do? I want to hear from the people, because really this isn't party politics where I say this is what I stand for, vote for me. This is, I want to represent you and this ward. What do I need to do to represent you? Because that's what a council, what a city councilor is supposed to do. So I'm really going to be focusing on listening to to my constituents, inviting people to follow me on social media, send me messages, call me up, send me a text message, tell me what they want me to do, what they want to see in the city. Because that's really what I'm focused on, is really listening. And that's what I think city council has been missing for a while. Not just from this recent term, but I think for quite a while, we haven't been having a lot of people listening to residents, and that's, I think, a problem that needs to be solved.
Do you think the dynamic of this not being party related, like you don't have to stand by something and say what your platform is, helps city councilors in any sort of way? Absolutely. You can. Just recently we had 2 councillors change their mind on a pretty divisive topic, for example, and they were able to do that when they saw what they thought was best for the Sioux and what Siouxites were saying. So I think that is very helpful, and it does allow a lot more opportunity to listen to your constituents and the residents of the Sioux, because yes, I would represent Ward 4, but also the city at large as well. So if I'm hearing from other people as well that, yes, they want X done, I can go do X. So I think that it's really important that you don't have to stick to your guns, and if people say, and I think it's important that councillors do change their mind. If, maybe I personally really want a youth center, but then I find out everybody in Ward 4 is against it, I guess I'll drop that. I don't think that's what would happen, but you know what I mean? Like, that's fine. That's not what they want, so that's not what I'm going to focus on.
You still have to find that common ground,
Absolutely.
I think, among your people at the table, kind of
Absolutely.
thing, to get things passed. That's my next question. We've known Matt Shoemaker to be the king of motions during the last 4 years, but very few things got passed with 7 votes. If Michelle McCleary Kennedy and yourself get elected to the new council after October 21st, how would you two improve that process of getting ideas and motions actually passed?
Well, I think that, I mean, absolutely, Michelle and I have proven that we work really well together. And so we obviously would focus on that, but it's even just more than the two of us. I work really well with everybody I've ever worked with. I have a really good working relationship with, you know, being a reporter, I have a really good working relationship with all of our local representatives, city staff. So it really is a matter of working together, making sure that you're communicating, discussing the pros and cons, making sure people understand, you know, this isn't just some idea that I'm throwing out there. This is an actual, you know, thing that I'm hearing from people, and making sure that everybody understands that and that they're listening as well to their constituents.
One quick follow-up to that. Are we not moving fast enough to doing things that this community needs? The last council for 4 years, we should be moving quicker on implementing ideas.
I understand why things go slowly. I mean, there is a process to politics that you do need to do the reports and the studies and everything. I do understand that. But absolutely, I think that decisions do need to be made sometimes a little quicker. But I think more than anything, it's just that it's taken so long to decide to do the studies in the first place. So I mean, recently we got, you know, the Future Sault Ste. Marie report, and that's provided some awesome insights and some great suggestions for things we need to do in the Sault to move it forward. And right now they're conducting the downtown studies to for a lot of different things downtown, like the two-way traffic and the residential use and everything. So that's really a really great development. But it's just, I think, taken too long to get to that point. It's kind of a, oh, well, now we're on a downslope. Instead of doing it when we were still here, they did it now that we're down here. So I think we need to get moving on things a little bit sooner before we go even further down.
All right. Well, Ward 4, you've got a lot more food for thought. Excuse me, if you're asking me. So we're going to send it to a quick break, but before we do that, Sarah, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Sarah.
And stay tuned. We have Derek Pearce coming on the show next.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Andy Martens and Alex Parr is still here. We're on Civic Affairs, the place to be in Sault Ste. Marie. We will have all the candidates for mayor and councillor right here on this show. Nowhere else in Sault Ste. Marie, the best in local television. Our next guest is Derek Pearce. He's a candidate for councillor in Ward 1.
That I am.
Welcome, Derek.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me.
You're in my wards.
I am, yes.
Derek, what is the role of a councillor?
Well, the role of a councillor is somebody who provides a stewardship role for the city. So they come up, the citizens come to them with problems, concerns, and they're the ones who have to draft up, ideas on how to best take care of those problems. Now, they don't run the city, that's city staff, so they just pretty much come up with the procedures and policies that direct city staff to make the appropriate decisions and go out after the outcome.
What is the best way to create the right economic conditions as a councillor? If you get elected, how would you do that?
Yeah, so to create the economic conditions for growth and stuff in the city, you got to make it advantageous for businesses to come here. So with our high tax rates, that's not, businesses will see that and they don't want to come here. You don't have any reinvestment back into the community, so that's another thing that you have to do. And then you got to look at the areas where businesses are going to want to pull up, like our downtown core. You see a lot of vacant storefronts down there, so it's like, how can we, make those more attractive so that businesses see those areas and want to build here? Like I know somebody who wants to come here and open up a business here, but he sees the high taxes, the crime, and all that stuff, and he doesn't want to come here. He'd rather go to cities like North Bay or Sudbury.
And is it those reasons that you want to run to fix those, or was there something else that kind of sparked you to actually get you initiated?
So initially, I used to complain to my parents all the time. I used to say, things aren't getting any better, and they were always like, oh, why don't you go to change it? And I was like, well, maybe one day I will. And then, unfortunately, my dad passed away a couple years ago, so I made the promise to him that one day I will. So when he passed away, I was like, you know what? This is the perfect time. Election cycle's coming up. I've seen the issues that are happening in the community. I'm a regular taxpayer, so I experienced them firsthand. Like I ride the buses, and stuff like that. So that's what really made me decide to want to run. I think, since I'm an everyday taxpayer, I'm not a career politician or big business type, I can see things that other people might in different eyes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
See them in a different light, have your own spin on it to kind of understand
Exactly.
where that somebody in your position may be coming from. Exactly.
I want to pick up on something you mentioned there. How do you get those high taxes changed?
Well, there's one way of doing it is to look and do a line-by-line audit of city finances, see where money is being wasted, where it shouldn't be. I know, a lot of people that I've been talking to, they're like, oh, the city's spending a lot on consultants.
Right.
And that one person actually made the opinion to me is like, with what we spent in consultations over the last year, I bet you we could create our own consultancy firm in City Hall. And unfortunately, that's how it is. We have spent a lot on consultants, but we don't have anybody who's willing to go and do that line-by-line audit. So we need somebody in City Hall to do that, like an auditor general. And then once we find out where the waste is being done, well, then we can start to figure out, where can we make cuts to certain services that may not be needed, where are we wasting money that we don't need to, and put those towards other things.
Just a quick follow-up to that. This council spent $30,000 on the Roger Brooks consultants,
Yes.
and they only implemented 3 out of 57 recommendations.
Yeah, if I remember, Roger Brooks said there's 57 recommendations that I can offer you, and it's only going to cost you $35,000 to implement them all.
Was it 35? Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I'd have to recheck
think
the
that's
video.
what it
Yeah,
was, too,
and
isn't
here
it?
council is they've accepted 3 of them, and I think they're spending $40,000. So that it makes no sense. You're spending more than the guy who you hired for $35,000 to come in and give you his opinion. You're taking 3 of his recommendations and you're spending $5,000 more than what he suggested. That kind of wasted spending is the stuff that we need to cut out. And I don't know why we paid Roger Brooks $35,000 to come and get a tourist perspective. I'm sure we could have found a tourist on the street and been like, hey, come in and give us your opinion. It would have been a lot cheaper. So.
Great. We
I
still
don't
have
want to
some.
step on your toes here.
We got still time.
Oh,
huh?
we got time.
Derek, I'm going to put you on the spot here. What is more important for Sault Ste. Marie, accountability or transparency, or creating the right conditions for employment, and why?
See, I would think they were both equal. You got to have the accountability and transparency. That way, local government, is transparent with the public and accountable. And then, with them being transparent and accountable, they should want to go out and make the economy, fix the economy and stuff like that, and bring more jobs here. So, I would see it as 50-50. I wouldn't weigh more than the other.
Right. Derek, we got a few more pressing questions from you. As Andy alluded to, we are throwing into a break now, but don't go anywhere. Civic Affairs will be right back. See, me and Andy, we both know you guys would be back. Welcome back to Civic Affairs. I've got a pressing question for our guest here, Derek Pearce now. Tell me, let's say I live in Ward 1. I don't. I live in Ward 5. But you knock on my door, I open it up. What's going to be your message when you're on my doorstep?
Yeah, so the first thing when I knock on your door, I'm going to ask you, what are your concerns? And then when you tell me your concerns, I'm going to go through my platform with you, tell you where I'm going to address these concerns, and then we'll just, continue to chat. We'll build a repertoire, and I'll,
Well, it's going to be important hearing the actual voices of everybody.
Exactly,
there, so.
yeah, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I've met with key people, like my family that live in Ward 1, and they're telling me the same thing that I'm hearing from all my friends in other wards, of what they're after for improvements after this election.
And is there anything you can actually touch on about what they are concerned about in that ward?
The most thing that I'm hearing about from my friends and family is transit. A lot of people use it, and with the transit changes, there's groups on Facebook like Sioux Transit Reform that have held polls, and it's like something like 90% of people do not favor the new changes. So when you have a situation like that, you got to look back and think, what did we do wrong? What can we do to improve it? And you got to use a model to figure that out.
Absolutely.
Derek, 2019 is going to be a tough year because a lot of these the mayor and councilors have to adjust because the integrity commissioner and code of conduct and all that stuff is coming. Can you tell me about open, active, responsive, transparent, and accountable governance?
Yeah.
How you would make that happen on council?
Well, the best thing to be is be transparent with your constituents. You know, you want to share as much stuff as you can that you can. Obviously, you know, there's certain stuff as a city council you won't be able to share, but you want to be as open as possible with people. And in doing that, you know, there won't be, you know, people can't come and say, oh, well, you know, he's hiding this, he's not showing this. The more transparent you are, the less chance that you won't need to worry about the integrity commissioner or stuff like that. So the best thing I can do is be as open and transparent as possible.
Now, is this your first time actually running for councillor in the city?
It is. However, I must admit I was involved in the changes of the legislation to get the integrity commissioner and that change. So I do have some knowledge
Is that a
in this stuff.
conflict of interest? No.
It's not, unfortunately.
And do you think there are any advantages to running for the first time being a fresh face? Because a lot of people will say, you know what, it's hard as a fresh face that isn't exactly new to politics in the city.
Yeah, when I first decided to run, I knew it was going to be hard, but I thought, you know, with my age, you know, it might be a benefit to me. You know, being as young as I am, I definitely don't have the same mindset as the older generation of people. You know, they tend to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. And we all know that's not working. That's the definition of insanity is doing the same. So, you know, you got to take that change, and you always got to welcome in fresh faces, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. So.
Exactly that.
What are you going to do at the door to encourage that change? What can you do at the door when you keep knocking, when you're a 30-second message at the door?
Yeah, well, the best thing to do is just, you know, let them know what you want to do and how you intend to do it. I know, you know, there's certain things a councillor can't do, so I'm only going to go when I'm at...
Can you give me an example of what a councillor can't do?
So a councillor can't come out and say, oh, I'm gonna fix the roads, because when you come out, you know, it's a vote. When you're in council, you know, you might have 4 people for it, 5 people against. You know, you can't. One person can't do one thing. It's all about working as a group. So when you have a councillor that comes in and says, "Oh, I'm going to do this," and it's like, "Oh, you're not going to be able to do that unless you can convince 5 or 6 other people on council to do it." And you know, convincing people to do stuff isn't easy. It's a chore.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Now, I know Derek's a busy man. He's got a lot of work to do before that October 22nd municipal election comes up. Wait, is that? Yeah.
October 22nd.
Okay, just
yeah,
making
right.
sure. I got my correspondent
Don't
here.
worry. Yeah. I'm
Sweating
a City
bullets
Hall
here.
correspondent, I'll
See?
tell you.
That's why we got the pros here in Civic Affairs. But don't go anywhere. We're going to bring a new guest on right after this.
Welcome back to Civic Affairs, the best in local television and municipal politics. If you like municipal politics, you're at the right place, because we will have all the candidates for mayor and council right here on this show, the best in local television. Alex Parr is with me, and we have Kamal Martinovic.
That's right.
Welcome, Kamal.
Yeah, thank you.
And Kamal's running for the mayor of Sault Ste. Marie.
Yes, I am, yes. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
What's your background, Kamal, if you can let the viewers know a little bit about your background?
Well, this is my first time running in public office. Mostly I worked in security, a lot of security jobs. I was a former commissioner, also a former correctional officer, and also worked for armored trucks.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was always interesting.
You're a transparent guy.
Yes,
eh?
I am, yeah. Yeah, it was never dull.
Security, geez, they're gonna have Don's gonna need a security team if
feel
he gets
secure,
elected.
yeah.
He'll be his own.
I worked for quite a few years in security, a few companies in Ottawa area.
And why exactly is Kamal Martinovic running for mayor?
Well, there are a lot of little issues that are just building up. You know, for instance, I'm a senior, and they changed the bus routes, which, you know, I should have just let it go, but I figured might as well go right to the top and try to change things. Little issues, you know. Another issue is the water fountain on the St. Mary's River there in the park. Shut that down to save money. Okay, really, you know. Then I made a phone call here and there, the city council or the city councilors, and got to run around and, oh yeah, I voted for that or voted against it, but not really. Little things, little issues. And it's not just for seniors, but everyone in the city. They're not listening to us. The city hall, people at the city hall are not listening to the person that put them in office.
So you figured it was time that you took the reins yourself, and if you don't see change happening, you got to do it yourself.
Jump in with both feet and just take full charge.
Plug the nose, cannonball style.
That's it, exactly. I've
Can you,
always been busy.
Can you elaborate a little bit, Kamal? How are the councillors and the mayor not listening to the taxpayers?
Well, for instance, you know, they've done a few things like they're changing City Hall from what they have now to white. You know, it makes a whole lot of sense. Waste a lot of money. Whether it necessarily needs repairs, I could look into that, but I'm figuring, you know, they just wasted money. There's a lot of waste, and it shouldn't be. They should, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's my motto. You know, so I'm going to, when I become the mayor, I'm not going to look at it a negative way. I'm going to look at it a positive way. Because why should I run and then say, oh, I'm going to lose? No, I want to win. I want that job. And to save money, like it was my own money.
Right.
I'm on a shoestring budget, and I just have the shoestrings. The shoes ain't there, you know?
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
way I look at it.
And what kind of different things are you going to be bringing to the table if you are elected mayor?
Well, I was thinking, you know, you should bring a little more industry for Sault Ste. Marie, which we only have one industry, the steel company. There are a lot of fiber optic companies. There are a lot of, you know, companies, which, you know, I could look into, but my thoughts are things have to change, you know, bring more businesses into Sault Ste. Marie. Like we just had that one industry, and it's not really good. It's a dying industry. That's a fact of life. So this is what I want to do, bring more industries in Sault Ste. Marie.
What do you think council has done wrong over the last 30 years? Why are we still a one-horse town, or as some people might say?
Well, to be honest, why just one industry? That's a good question, but it's time for change. The council has to get along and basically move on, and more ideas. Like, you know, because that one industry is not going to be reliable after so many years. Like, times are changing. We're bringing a lot of imports into Canada and the United States, and we have to change with the times.
And off the top of your head, are there any industries that you think Sault Ste. Marie should be looking at to actually dive into, just off the top of your head, of course?
Well, like I said, fiber optics, there's, you know, it's hard to say, really. Like, to be honest with, I don't have all the answers.
Right.
But this is why you look into them and see if you can bring them into the city. You know, search everywhere, the country, you know, or even foreign countries. Maybe they want to bring in more work for Canadians.
Would you travel a lot if you were elected mayor to promote the city?
Well, yeah, I would, yes. The States would be over in Europe and China and places like that, to bring industries into Canada, yes.
You think that a mayor such as this small community of 75,000 people, you have to, nothing happens by itself. You have to get out there and promote.
Yes, exactly. You have to work with the council and find, you know, to look, basically look and like I said, do traveling, not like waste a lot of money, but at the same time you look and you bring in, like I said, China. There are a lot of places, you know, that are taking our jobs away, but at the same time, maybe they can bring something back to us.
Right. Well, when we come back, we'll speak a little bit more about one of the men that want to be the face of your city. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Civic Affairs with myself, Alex Parr, my co-anchor, Andy Martens, and our guest today, Kamal Martinovic. So Kamal, in your own words, what should people expect out of the mayor of their city? What kind of things should people expect the mayor to get done?
Well, like I said, there are a lot of things, mostly to listen to the people that put me in office. There are a lot of opinions. I don't have the answers for everything, but I certainly look into it and take that under advisement. And like I said, I'm going to try my best to bring in other industries to Sault Ste. Marie.
And would you say that's the biggest thing that the Sioux does need to focus on, is bringing in more industries, more businesses to keep the jobs here?
There should be a lot more for, say, downtown Queen Street. There's not really a whole lot in the summertime.
Right.
You know, they bring in more vendors, chip trucks, things like that. You know, they're only there for the summer. They're still going to pay taxes, and the main businesses downtown have nothing to worry about. You have to bring a little bit more, the same with the boardwalk.
And I think the downtown, the beautification of it has been a problem for, or at least a topic that they've discussed for a while now down at City Hall. And now that things are starting to get moving, what other things do you think we need to do to our downtown to change it?
Well, there are a lot of things, you know, the activities for the younger generation, you know, even the older generation. Like I said, more businesses downtown, horse and buggy, things like that, you know, make it a little interesting. And same with now, I'm guessing, but I'm not for sure, but the older cars, like they used to be on Friday nights, you know, keep that going. Mm-hmm. You know, little things like that. It's just a buildup of little things and listen mostly to the people.
Right.
Yeah.
When you become mayor, Kamal, you're going to have to know about the code of conduct and transparency, accountability. How do you think those areas relate to doing the mayor's job?
Well, like I say, you know, everything is a learning experience. Right. You know, I don't know anything about politics. This is my first run at public office. Right. But like, again, like any job, you have to learn and learn quickly and take everybody seriously. You know, I'm not planning to just slack off and just do whatever I want. You have to follow the rules. You know, this is how the way I look at it. And again, like I said, I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to learn.
So what you're saying is it's like any job, you've got to follow the job description.
Yes.
And not make it up as you go.
No, it's a very important job because you're running the city of Sault Ste. Marie. It's to be taken seriously, not lightly. And excess spending, if it's not broke, don't fix it. If it can stay another year or two, slowly but surely, if you have the budget, then spend it.
And before the break, we did talk about a few of your concerns as to why you ran for mayor, or why you are running for mayor, I should say. What would you say was the last straw that you said, you know what, I've had it, it's my turn to put my foot down and make a name for myself and really run for this?
Exactly, it's the bus routes. My route goes nowhere. It just continues. It's a scenic tour. I tell that to the bus driver every time I get on. This must be the scenic tour bus, because right back to the terminal. Like, seriously? You can get the connection there on the second line. If you're lucky, you might get it, and if you're lucky, you may not. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to make that connection. That's how I look at it. And it's mostly, like I said, it's not so much the seniors, it's everybody. A lot of people I get on the bus, they chew the bus driver's ear right off, you know, and they're there just basically listening, but they can't do much. I phoned the transit authorities. Second day after they changed the routes, they said, I'm not a happy camper. And they said, we don't care. I mean, seriously, went right over the edge. Like, whoa, that's a good attitude, I thought, you know.
Well, Kamal, it seems as though you are one that cares about this city especially. So we'll be looking forward to see what kind of traction you can get on the way to the October election. So we thank you for coming in. And once again, we thank you for sticking on TV's Civic Affairs. But don't go anywhere. We got one more guest coming up for you.
Thanks for coming back to our final segment of Civic Affairs on ONNtv. We're live from the Superior Media Studios. I'm Andy Martens with Alex Parr. We're having a great time for the best in municipal politics. And once again, we get to talk to Ted Johnston, who's running for mayor as well. Welcome to the show, Ted.
Thanks for having me in.
Why are you running for mayor, Ted? You've done it 4 years ago. I thought you'd get tired of the pounding the pavement. What's going on this time? Why are you running?
A big change for this time around is the fact that the new municipal act is coming into effect. We lobbied hard with the ratepayers group to get the changes made to the act so that the new city hall would be operating under these. In 2001, the act first mentioned that there should be tools available which cities could use to improve their governance. The Auditor General, Lobby Registry, Ombudsman, these things existed even back then. Many cities adopted them over the next few years. By the time 2010 had rolled around, 60% of the municipalities in Ontario had at least a couple of these things in place. We didn't. The more time passed, the more other cities adopted more of these policies, more of these things got put in place. Sault Ste. Marie lagged behind. Sault Ste. Marie didn't have them. Now it's the 11th hour. They are under the gun. The new rules come into effect next year, like it or not. They have to have these things in place. They've dragged their heels. I don't know why. I can't even begin to fathom why over the last 4 years they didn't put this stuff in place, because they knew it was coming.
Right.
When this stuff does get put in place, it needs somebody who's going to do it properly. They can appoint the Auditor General, which means they can appoint somebody who they want. We don't want an Auditor General who's going to sit on his hands and do nothing. We want an Auditor General who's actually going to do his job, who's going to look seriously at the books. If I get to be mayor, I want an Auditor General who 2 years from now is going to come into council chambers, going to sit down there and going to look at me and going to say, you screwed up here, look at these numbers. That's what I want from the Auditor General. Because then I can take that information, I can gather together the group of people who were involved in that, and I can say, okay, guys, sorry, we screwed up. What are we going to do to make sure this doesn't happen again? But if you have an Auditor General who's ineffective, who isn't going to be doing that stuff, then 2 years down the road, that won't happen in a council meeting, because they've appointed somebody who isn't going to do that stuff. I want public input, public scrutiny. Nothing hidden, nothing swept under the rug.
Are you going to be challenging our current mayor on all those points during the
Yes.
campaign?
Yes. Why wasn't this done? He had 4 years. 4 years! What did he do in those 4 years? Never touched this stuff. Okay, yes, I've heard that they did pick a firm that was going to represent for the Integrity Commissioner. That's the only thing I've heard out of City Hall with regard to that stuff. And even that isn't finalized yet.
Good points there, Alex.
Absolutely. Now, Ted, what would you say you bring to the table, specifically yourself, something that maybe your other fellow campaign runners don't have?
I'm a former Canadian Armed Forces demolitions engineer. I volunteered to serve my country. You don't do that unless you have a very dedicated look at where you are and where you come from. People often get into politics for the wrong reasons. They get into politics because they have dreams of grandeur, or they get into politics because their father got into politics, or they get into politics because they can see an opening for themselves to satisfy some kind of internal thing. People are supposed to get into politics because they want to make things better for their community, for their province, for their country. That is why you do it. That is why you're supposed to do it. Politics was never meant to be for the elite. Read our Constitution. Our Constitution specifically lays out that we are a government for the people, ordinary people, not the elite, not the moneyed, not the well-connected. Ordinary people. That's who's supposed to be running our country. We lost track somewhere along the way. We have municipal elections in this country that see 25% voter turnout. That's appalling. People have become so disenfranchised and so disenchanted with their democracy, they literally feel that there's nothing they can do about it. That's wrong.
And it's time for you to make the change, then, is what you're saying, correct?
I'd love to make the change.
Absolutely. Well, I want to hear a little bit more about what he's got to say after a speech like that, so don't go anywhere. Our last portion of Civic Affairs will be on right after this.
Welcome back to our final segment on Civic Affairs. Hope you're enjoying the show, and it's all our candidates and the candidates for mayor and council will be here, and we're going to have fun every Monday night from 8 till 9 o'clock live on ONNtv. Ted, the last segment question, if you get elected, what are your priorities for, if elected mayor? Continuous improvement, transparency, accountability, auditor general, all of that. Where will you start?
4 years ago when I ran, I called for a financial audit, an independent line-by-line financial audit. I still want that. That is the most important thing. If I have to pick one thing, that is the most important thing. It'll clear up a lot of what's going on. It'll let council know, exactly where we are financially. A lot of people complain, they talk to me and they say, fix the roads, fix police service, fix the bus schedule. Those are symptoms, okay? I'm not saying they're not important. We do need good roads. We do need better bus service. We do need police and fire services to be effective. We need all that stuff. But those are symptoms of the disease, not the disease. The disease is how badly things are being run. There's a disconnect between citizens and council. There's a disconnect between councils and staff. There's a disconnect between staff and citizens. Everybody's got silos and fortresses built around their little areas. They don't talk to one another. They don't work well together. All that's got to stop. We need to drive out the cultures of fear of entitlement. There's too many people up there at City Hall that are afraid. Oh, I can't say anything. I can't do anything. Garbage. Time to fix all that stuff. If I get in, one of my top things is going to be breaking down all those barriers, getting rid of that culture of fear. Talk to me. Talk to other people. Can we please have some ideas here? Can we please get going on how to make things better? Things can be better. Things should be better. My family didn't shed 3 generations of blood so that things could get worse. They did it so that things could get better. Let's get together, let's talk, let's do better. Stop this garbage. They do not have the answers. Your elected representatives are supposed to be just that, elected representatives. They're supposed to represent you, not say they have the ideas and they have the solutions. That's not how it goes.
Absolutely. Well, Ted, I think you gave the people of Sault Ste. Marie a lot to think about after this episode of Civic Affairs. So get thinking. October's going to come a lot faster than you think. So for myself, Andy, and all of our guests today, thank you for tuning in to ONNTV's Civic Affairs. Have yourself a great evening.